Hi, I'm Trish Tagley, and this is Trish Time. If you read the papers nowadays, or even speak to your neighbors, your friends, or even your coworkers, or even if you think about it yourself, there's a lot of low employee morale that's going around the corporate environment these days, as well as low employee engagement in what they're doing, or interest in the company, dissatisfaction with company culture, if there's even such a thing as culture. I read recently that there's this about an interview question that people who are interviewing to hire should ask. And that question was, who are the people that you've helped in your career? Obviously, if you're just coming out of college, then you would answer that a different way. But mid-level to senior leadership, they're looking to see, who have you helped? And who have you helped? Did you help the people? Are you going to talk about the people that are more senior than you, or are you going to talk about the people that have reported to you or work on teams that you oversee? Answering that question tells a lot about your leadership skills. So today we're here to talk about leadership. A lot of people think that leadership means that people are reporting to you. But actually, that's not exactly what it means. That's just a title, that's just a position. What leadership is really is when you are able to inspire other people into action towards a common goal. And with that, we get to our first pillar for leadership, and that would be truth. We only have a limited amount of time, so obviously I cannot speak on every single value that a leader should have, but I'll pull out some of those that I think are important. Now, when I say truth, okay, that means that you are able to say, I don't know, okay? And when you say, I don't know, what you're allowing other people that report to you to do is say, I don't know as well. It enables a safe space to be created for people to learn. I used to come from a digital and technical background, and the way technology is, it moves really fast. So that means that it's not possible for me to understand everything. I have overview, I have oversight. With the technology, I have a understanding, a grasp of the technology, but the people that are doing the day-to-day, they're the ones who actually understand what's going on. So by me saying, you know what, I don't know about this. Why don't you explain this to me? I'm being truthful. And not only that, I'm allowing people to teach me. I'm allowing myself to learn every day. Okay? The other thing about truth is that we're able to, when we model the behavior that we want to see in other people, they start rising to our expectation. We have to be able to walk what we're talking. Okay? And that means not pretending and not being dishonest with regard to what we understand about the job that we're doing. So learn to say, I don't know, and model that behavior for people that report to you. Okay? The other thing that has to do with truth is fairness. When you're being truthful, that means you're being fair. A lot of dissatisfaction in the workplace and low morale happens because senior management practices favoritism. That's not exactly the way leaders should behave, and it doesn't give a good feeling to those that are working really hard. Somebody told me a story, and the story goes like this. She was working at this company, and she had capacity, so she was being given more and more assignments, which was fine because she was one of those people that could actually work those assignments and keep taking on more because she would get it done and get it off her plate. But what happened was she noticed that the other people, this one person in particular, wasn't being given any additional work. When she questioned her supervisor about that, The answer was, oh, there's a large project coming, so she needs that capacity free in order to take on this large project. When leaders don't tell the truth about what's happening, you should understand that employees have conversations in the hallway. They know what's going on with regard to what another team is doing. All they have to do is ask each other, and the truth will come out. So this person who was engaged and doing the work and wanting to make her supervisor proud, okay, she wasn't really after, okay, I want a bonus. It was the joy of actually working. Guess what happened? She stopped performing at that level simply because she noticed that there wasn't truth and fairness with regard to how she was being treated. So remember, truth, being honest with your employees, with your direct reports, that is very, very important. The other thing too, when it comes to truth, okay, is that executive and senior management are not being seen as protecting each other when it comes to paying out large bonuses to each other and to themselves while laying off junior staff. It doesn't make for better morale. Layoffs, when they happen, they create a certain uncertainty in the environment. And what happens is, if they see that senior people who they know are making a lot of money are keeping their jobs and keeping their bonuses, then again, they know that there's dishonesty happening in the workplace. Tendency is they will leave and they will be less engaged with the work that they're doing. So a next pillar that we'll talk about is to teach. What you want to do with your direct reports is teach them what you know. My philosophy with regard to leadership is, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat today, but if you teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And every leader should make sure that what they know is being communicated to the people that they're leading. Now, there's two benefits to this. One, precisely, you're teaching your team how to do the job and how to do your job, okay? The second benefit is actually a personal benefit. When your team knows what you do and they know their jobs better, then guess what? You actually get to go on vacation. You actually get to take a day off. All right? The other part of teaching is the mentoring aspect. People are willing to learn from you if you're willing to teach them. So you need to make sure that you're always communicating in a timely manner the information that they need to know. Granted, there's some information that they don't need to know at that time and is on a need-to-know basis. So that type of information, let's be clear, is kept to yourself. But for the information to do their jobs, or even to make them better at what they do, okay, you need to be teaching, you need to be mentoring. Another way to do that, besides teaching them how to do the jobs or their jobs, is by their reviews. If you notice that somebody is strong in one area and not so strong in another area, when it comes to review time, sit down with them and talk to them about these areas that they need to improve on. And make sure that you have a plan that's actionable and not just nebulous. You need to improve your communication. That doesn't really tell somebody anything. Be specific. Show them examples of how their communication is lacking, or maybe they over-communicate, but show them concrete examples so that they understand where they're making their mistakes. The other thing about teaching is you should allow your people the freedom to make their own decisions. Another story I'm going to tell you is this supervisor, her direct report came to her and said, I have this project, this is my project plan, this is my project timeline. And the supervisor looked at it and she said, it's a little tight time-wise. But this woman said, I know I can do this project within this time frame. Okay, not a problem. You're heading up this project. By all means, do it in this time frame. Good luck. So what she didn't do was micromanage the project. She allowed that person who reports to her to make her own decisions. Okay? Unfortunately, there was an accident that happened and the timeline needed to be pushed back. So she went to her supervisor and told her about it, and they both smiled at each other, and there was a learning at that moment that you can't tighten up your timeline so much because you never know down the road what's going to happen. Okay? So not only was there a teaching moment there, but in that instance, when the subordinate went to the supervisor, there's another value that comes out of that. It's trust. Okay. So the direct report actually trusted her supervisor enough to tell her what was wrong with the project. There was a mistake that happened, which meant that they actually had to lengthen the timeline. And now how was that trust gained? Obviously, again, by being, the leader was consistent with regard to her communication and her actions. Okay? The other thing is she allowed her direct reports to be accountable for their work, to be responsible, and to own the projects that they're actually working on. And that's another thing that you want to do, is to make people feel that you trust them enough to do the work and to know what they need to know in order to get that work done. Because there was that trust, there was open communication. And another word for that is transparency. And in business, you want to be as transparent as you can be when it comes to your working relationship with your team. The way to do that, too, is to involve yourself in their lives. Not just their work lives, but get to know them on a personal level. Okay? Are they married? Do they have kids? Do they have pets? What are their favorite hobbies? It's not so much that you're going to spend a lot of time with them outside of work, but get a little personal. Because in any office environment, in any working environment, what you're really dealing with are people. They're just like you. They want to be involved in the work, and they want to be engaged, but you need to be the one to show them how it is that you care about them and you care about what they're doing. And again, the way to do that is to understand them, to get to know them. Don't hold people at arm's length, especially people that report to you, simply because by doing that, you will not create the environment of trust and teaching and truth that we've been talking about. The other thing is you need to be able to support the people that are working with you and for you. And when we talk about support, okay, we're talking about being there for them. There's another story that I'd like to tell you, and this had to do with this supervisor, and she went to her supervisor to report something that happened. Again, something went wrong at work. And it was actually the fault of someone that reported to the initial supervisor. Her boss said to her, you know, you don't always have to take a bullet for the team. Now that was actually a wrong statement made, because a leader actually protects their team and the buck actually stops with you. If mistakes happen and what you do is you step aside and let your team throw them under the bus and let them get the hit, what are you really saying to them? That they don't matter. And that's not something you want to communicate to the people that are working with you and for you. You always want to make sure that they do matter. So with all of this, as I said, there are a lot of values that come with being a leader, okay? And a lot of people get promoted to leadership positions that they're not necessarily ready for, or they're not interested in being these leaders. I have another story to tell you. There was a point in time where project management and account management were not exactly getting along. And we know that at some agencies, these two teams are not always in sync. There are teams that can be in sync, but the traditional idea is one is advocating for the client and one is advocating for the internal teams. In any case, a director for one of the project management teams called everybody in that reported to her. Not only the executive producers, but also the senior people and the junior people on that team. And what she proceeded to say definitely did not create a trust environment. What she said was there were complaints with regard to the performance of this specific team. Okay, so there are problems. That in itself, you think about what are we going to do? What are the solutions, right? But what she said after is what was a mistake. She said, I am neutral in this. She was a leader for this team, but instead of helping the team and supporting her team, she said, I'm neutral. So she removed herself from the issue. That's not what a leader does, okay? What a leader does is creates a safe space for people, again, to make sure that they're honest with each other. We spoke about truth, for a teaching environment, and for a trust environment. That was not going to happen with this leader because she was removing herself from creating a solution with the people that reported to her. You always want to make sure that when you're working with people and they're reporting to you and you're a senior person, that you create this safe environment where people understand that they can say, I don't know, and they can grow, and they can come to you with issues, and you'll work with them with solutions. You'll not necessarily tell them what the solution is because you want them to learn for themselves, but ask the right questions that'll bring them the answers that they need, point them in the right direction, okay? These are things that leaders do. A lot of times we hear, and even in newspapers we'll read, or online, we'll read about these large bonuses that leaders get, and oh my gosh, how can these people make all this money? We have no problem when it comes to people that are making a lot of money if they deserve that money. We actually have problems when it comes to people making money and a lot of money and large bonuses when they're not giving back to those that are doing the day-to-day. So you have to pay attention to that. Does your team, when you get praise, when you get a bonus, when you get a promotion, are they happy for you? Or behind your back, are they saying, she doesn't deserve that, he doesn't deserve that? Okay? You need to make sure that you support your team, they get promoted, so that they will work with you. And when they're working with you, they will work with blood, sweat, and tears. If they're only working with you because they need to, because it's their job, guess what? When they punch out for the day, that's it. They're done. There's no commitment. There's no ownership. Okay? And again, we go back to what we talked about in the beginning, that the morale is low and employee engagement is low. So at this point, we've come full circle. We've talked about truth and how it should be okay for leaders to say, I don't know, and allow themselves to learn every day. Okay? By saying, I don't know, they're modeling that behavior for the people that are working or reporting to them to say the same thing and keep learning themselves. With truth, we need to have fairness in the way we give the benefits, the bonuses, okay, or the workload. We need to make sure that everything is balanced. It's human nature to prefer one person over another, But leaders don't have that luxury. You need to be more objective. If somebody that you might prefer over somebody else makes a mistake, make sure you call that out. Again, that's honesty within the group. Okay? So when you call somebody out that maybe isn't as strong as somebody else on your team, okay, this person won't feel that you're picking on them because you do it consistently. You do it across the board. Good leaders are consistent with their actions. We spoke about teaching, okay? And what that means is you not only help them with regard to their responsibilities, but you teach them what it is that you do. You make yourself redundant in a sense. And I know to a lot of people, they hold on to what they do and their knowledge because they want to safeguard their jobs. That is not the way a true leader approaches their position. You need to see your teams learn and be promoted just as you would like to be promoted. And the only way that's going to happen is if there's somebody else that can take your place. And the other thing you have to think about too is if you want to go on vacation, you want to take your vacations, and you have to be sure that somebody at home is taking care of business. The only way to do that is to mentor the people that work with you, that work on your teams. You need to be able to give them the freedom to make their own decisions. That means stop micromanaging. All you're doing when you micromanage is you squash creativity and you squash creative thinking. How do I solve this problem? If they always have to run to you to solve the problem for them, you're never going to be able to get out of the office. Think about that. The other thing we spoke about, the other value, is trust. Make sure you're accountable and responsible for everything that you do and for everything that your team does. Make sure that you're involved with them so that they understand what is going on when they need to, not when you decide to tell them. Every piece of information that you receive needs to be communicated in a timely manner. With regard to trust, we just talked about support. Okay? You need to support your team. You need to be there. You need to be the front line. You need to be able to protect them and not throw them under the bus. So I hope that you enjoyed our discussion on leadership. Again, as I said, there are many other values that come with being a leader. There are many other values that you need to demonstrate. But today, we're talking about truth, teaching, and trust. So thank you very much for being with me on Trish Time. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.